What is going on, guys? My name is Brett. Today in this video I'm going to show you my favorite players from each team. So I want you down in the comment section below to give me your list of your favorite players from each team. So write down in the comment section below about that. If you're new around here, subscribe, hit that notification bell. This way you can receive my videos once uploaded. So the notification squad today is going towards Connor. He said, I'm going to try that right now. So the notification squad today goes to the very first person who comments one of my videos. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you have the notifications on. This way you can be part of the notification squad today. You get a shout out all my videos as long as you're the very first person. So back to the video. So this is going to be my ranking list of my favorite players from each team. So let me down in the comment section below if your favorite players compared to my favorite players. So let's get started with this list. So starting my list of my favorite baseball players from each team. So come from the Arizona Diamondbacks, David Peralta. David Peralta is a very underrated player. I didn't choose the most well-known players such as Ketel Marte and Madison Bumgarner starring Marte. But my favorite player right now is David Peralta because he's very underrated. He's an all-star. He plays outfield. He hits for high average. He does hit for home runs and also RBIs. A very underrated player. He is my favorite player on the Arizona Diamondbacks. So my favorite player on the Atlanta Braves right now, it's Ronald Acuna Jr. I love seeing him play. He's so young, so valuable, especially at his age. He's like hitting so many home runs, hitting a clutch, getting the RBIs, hitting the high batting average, and look at him right now. He's a top 5 player. Can you believe this? For a player this young and producing this many numbers, he's definitely a must-see TV. Ronald Acuna Jr. is definitely my favorite player on the Atlanta Braves. It was Freddie Freeman for like the longest time, but Acuna Jr. at his age right now produces so many good numbers. He's an all-star outfielder. If I do have a chance to draft him when fantasy baseball does start, I'm probably going to draft him. Ronald Acuna Jr. is my favorite player on the Atlanta Braves. So my favorite player coming from the Baltimore Orioles is John Means. John Means is so undervalued and he's so young too. I forgot which year it was, but he was drafted very high. Maybe it was 2 years ago or a year ago. He was drafted very high for the Baltimore Orioles. There are not many players that you can choose from that could be your favorite player. Coming from the Baltimore Orioles, maybe Trey Mancini. There's a couple other ones, but John Means definitely stands out for me because he's so undervalued as a pitcher. Coming from Baltimore, I do want to see Baltimore to get some more draft picks and get some more players because their team is so awful right now. But John Means definitely stands out to me, especially as a starting pitcher coming from Baltimore. He's my favorite player for the Baltimore Orioles. So the Boston Red Sox, who is my favorite player? Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts, like I said, all these players I picked so far are very undervalued and they're very underrated. Xander Bogaerts is so undervalued. I do have him higher than Gleyber Torres right now. If I had to choose between which shortstops do I want. I do love Gleyber Torres, but Xander Bogaerts is a little bit better. His batting average is really high. Xander Bogaerts, when it comes to Boston Red Sox, it used to be that I used to hate every single Boston Red Sox back in like 5-10 years ago. Now I do not because there's no David Ortiz, there's no Manny Ramirez, there's no Jason Varitek anymore. So it's definitely a new age for the Boston Red Sox now. I do like most of them, but Xander Bogaerts does stand out to me, and he's my favorite player right now. So the White Sox, who's my favorite player? Juan Moncada. Juan Moncada came out of nowhere last season. He was definitely a high prospect the Yankees probably would have had a chance to get, but they did get outbid from the Boston Red Sox, traded to the White Sox for Chris Sale. So that was a story with him. When he broke season with the White Sox, he was a strikeout machine. He got like 200 strikeouts per season for, I believe, for the first year and also second year. Then all of a sudden this year, he broke out, and he does have that high batting average, especially that lineup in that ballpark is definitely good for Juan Moncada. He's definitely my favorite player because he came out of nowhere last season. I was so upset that I traded him, but Juan Moncada is my favorite player when it comes to the White Sox. The Chicago Cubs, my favorite player is Anthony Rizzo. Why? All these years, he's always been that big guy that always does something right when it comes to offense or defense. Anthony Rizzo, if you don't know his story, he battled cancer and he was on the Boston Red Sox. Then he moved on to the Chicago Cubs and all of a sudden became this all-star. He's a very good player. He plays defense, plays offense, he does everything right. So my favorite player for the Chicago Cubs is Anthony Rizzo. Cincinnati Reds, who's my favorite player? Trevor Bauer. Why? He's always getting involved with the community. He's always talking his opinion, which I really like about that. I really like real players who express their own opinions and they don't really care what other people think. That's what I like about that. There's many different people that you can choose from on this team, like Sonny Gray, Joey Votto, Mike Moustakas, Nicholas Castellanos. There are many different players that you could choose from. The one that stands out to me that's my favorite player on this team is Trevor Bauer. Like I said, he does speak his mind, and I do like about that. He does have his own YouTube channel and his own podcast, which I do listen to occasionally, and he's definitely my favorite player on the team. The Cleveland Indians. Who's my favorite player? Francisco Lindor, Mr. Smiley. He does everything right. He plays defense, and he's an offensive player, and he's very clutch, especially when it comes to the Yankees. He's very clutch. He does have the high batting average, the high home runs, the high RBIs. He does steal bases for you, and he's a very good player. He's a top 10 offensive player right now. Without Francisco Lindor, the Indians will probably won't do anything this year. But right now, Francisco Lindor is my favorite player on the team. So the Colorado Rockies, who's my favorite player? If you do watch my previous videos, and if you do follow me on Twitter or Instagram, Nolan Arenado is one of my favorite players right now in baseball. So he has to be my favorite player on the Colorado Rockies. So he does play elite defense, and his offensive numbers are insane. He does drive in a lot of RBIs every single year, close to 120, 130 RBIs. Does that play a factor in Colorado? But he's definitely my favorite player. He's so clutch, and he's always in the top 10 when it comes to offensive numbers. Plus, he gets gold gloves every single year. So my favorite player right now is Nolan Arenado for the Colorado Rockies. So the Detroit Tigers, who's my favorite player right now? Cameron Maybin. I am a Yankees fan, so I do have a little attachment when it comes to ex-Yankee players. But Cameron Maybin, he does everything. So he does play elite defense. He does have speed. He does have that ability to perform good numbers. When he was a Yankee last season, he was clutch. He did perform when it came to injured players. There weren't many choices when it comes to the Detroit Tigers. You do have Miguel Cabrera, Michael Fulmer, Matthew Boyd, ex-Twins players like Jonathan Scope or CJ Cron. So my favorite player for the Detroit Tigers right now is Cameron Maybin. So the Houston Astros, who's my favorite player right now, is going to go towards Justin Verlander. Why? I just love seeing him pitching. I don't really like seeing him pitching against the Yankees because he's so good, but he can repeat his mechanics so well. He does have very good stuff. He's arguably a top 3 starting pitcher right now. He is getting a little older in age right now, but he can perform at great success and great numbers, especially when he was a Detroit Tiger, when he won the MVP and also all those no-hitters. But Justin Verlander, he can repeat his delivery so many times. He's very good. He's very clutch. But I don't really like him when he's facing the Yankees because he's so good. But that one game against the Yankees in the playoffs, oh my God, I love that. But Justin Verlander, if he was on my team, I would love that. But he's a very good pitcher, and he's my favorite player on the Houston Astros. So the Kansas City Royals, who's my favorite player? Will Merrifield. Why? He's so good. He's so fast. He does play at multiple positions. Center field, second base, first base. I believe there's one more. Will Merrifield is so undervalued, and he's so underrated because he does steal about 25 to 30 stolen bases. He does have above that 300 batting average. Play a good defense as well. Especially for the Kansas City Royals, they're slowly coming back. They're starting to do that rebuild. They do have other good players, but Will Merrifield does stand out for me as my favorite player on the team. So the LA Angels, who's my favorite player? Justin Upton. Oh, just kidding. It's definitely Mike Trout. Mike Trout is the best baseball player in baseball right now. He's probably a lot of people's favorites right now because he's so good. He does play elite defense. He has elite offense numbers. Look at his numbers the past 10 years. You can't believe your eyes when you look at Mike Trout. He does everything right. He robs home runs, plays an elite defense, gets a high batting average, home runs, RBIs. OPS plus is really high, and he does everything right. Mike Trout should be everyone's favorite player in the Angels, unless you're a big fan of Ohtani. But right now, Mike Trout, he's so good. He's the best player in baseball right now, so he's my favorite player just because he does everything right. Mike Trout is my favorite player in the LA Angels. Hey Dodgers, who's my favorite player? There's so many choices on here, but I'm going to go for Clayton Kershaw. I love seeing him pitch. He can repeat his delivery every single time, and what he does and his stuff and his age, he's doing very well. Like, I get it, he's not the elite pitcher that we used to see for 10 years straight, but Clayton Kershaw is a very good player. He does perform at a very good level. Like I said, he's not a top 5 pitcher anymore. He's probably like a top 15, top 20. But Clayton Kershaw, I love seeing him pitch, especially staying up late and watching the LA Dodgers and seeing Clayton Kershaw pitches. Very good for baseball. But Clayton Kershaw, I love seeing him pitch, especially those late night Dodger games. So he's my favorite player in the LA Dodgers. So the Florida Marlins, who is my favorite player? Sandy Alcantara. I probably butchered his name, but watching a pitch, he's a very good pitcher, especially for his age. And when it comes to the Florida Marlins, there are not many players that you can choose from that's probably going to stand out to you. Their pitching staff is very underrated, and Sandy can pitch very good. And so Sandy's my favorite player when it comes to the Florida Marlins. Hopefully their farm system can get a little better, especially after trading all those players, especially for trading all those all-stars. But I feel like the Florida Marlins are going to get a little better. But Sandy's right now is my favorite player on the Florida Marlins. The Milwaukee Brewers. Who's my favorite player? Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich was always that all-star level player when he was on the Florida Marlins. And all of a sudden he came to the Milwaukee Brewers after that trade. He became like a monster. Like, what happened to him? He became this like all-star level player, and all of a sudden he's like elite player. He's like he is the second best baseball player right now in baseball. If you have a chance to draft him, I would definitely have a chance to draft him. I mean, the lineup is not as deep as it once was, but Christian Yelich is like almost on the same level as Mike Trout. Definitely must-see TV. He had like that stretch last season which he had like 44 home runs and like he still had 20 or 25 games left. And then he got hurt, which is really sad about that. So the Milwaukee Brewers did fell off. But Christian Yelich is so good. He's so viable for the team. So he's definitely my favorite when it comes to the Milwaukee Brewers. So the Minnesota Twins, who's my favorite player right now? Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz, the boomstick. He had so many home runs. He's a very good offensive player. I mean, he can't play the field anymore because we know from the Texans and Cardinals where it's series game. He's definitely a top tier offensive player. He plays very good offensive numbers. He hits the long home runs, and he's still playing at a very good level, even at his current age. I believe he's like 38, 39, or 40. I don't know his exact age, but he's definitely getting up there in age. But he does perform at an elite level. Definitely stands out to me. The Minnesota Twins are definitely getting better. Their team overall is getting better. Especially last season, they broke the home run record as a team. I mean, there was a juice ball, but if you're doing something right and you're hitting a bunch of home runs, so Nelson Cruz is my favorite player on the team. So the New York Mets, who's my favorite player right now? Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher right now in baseball. And watching him pitch and watching him dominate is a very good must-see TV. I remember his very first start against the Yankees when he faced Sean Green, when Sean Green was a pitcher. Their very first starts together against Jacob deGrom also. And Jacob deGrom, ever since then, became an elite pitcher. He became the best pitcher in baseball, back-to-back Cy Young Award winners. And watching him pitch is must-see TV. So my favorite player right now on the New York Mets is Jacob deGrom. New York Yankees, my team. Who's my favorite player? Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is so good. He's so undervalued. Yes, undervalued for his team. It's because he plays elite defense. For a guy his stature, playing the high defense like he does is phenomenal. He did get hurt last season. He does have a collapse along with a pneumothorax, but we didn't find that out about 4 or 5 months afterwards. A different story. When he's healthy, he's a top 10 player. He is very injury prone right now, but when he plays, he can carry the team. He's a very good player. He plays elite defense. He has offensive numbers. But Aaron Judge, he's my favorite player right now when it comes to the New York Yankees. So the Oakland A's, who's my favorite player right now? Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman is a sneaky player right now because he's so undervalued. He's finally getting the recognition that he deserves. He plays elite defense, and his offensive numbers are very, very good. So the Oakland A's are very similar when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays. They don't get enough credit. And when the West Coast versus the East Coast, when you pick a team that's very good but so undervalued, the A's from the West and the Rays from the East. Matt Chapman could be a top 25 player this year because he's so valuable for the team. But Matt Chapman has elite defense and elite offensive numbers, and he could take off this season. So Matt Chapman is my favorite player when it comes to Oakland A's. So Philadelphia Phillies, who's my favorite player? Didi Gregorius. I am a Yankees fan, so when it comes to ex-players, I do have a little heart when it comes to them. But Didi Gregorius, he's very energetic. He makes the plays in the infield when he needs to. He's very clutch and very underrated. I really feel bad for him because he did have Tommy John and he missed half the season and he got his spot taken away. But Didi Gregorius, when it came to 2017 and hitting that home run against Irvin Santana and taking over for the captain when no one believed he was going to be on the the Yankees for that long, taking over the shortstop position. But Didi Gregorius, he's my favorite player on there. When it comes to social media, the Phillies are going to love that because he does have a post-game summary when it comes to emojis. I'm going to miss that when it comes to Didi Gregorius, but he's my favorite player when I'm on the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Pittsburgh Pirates, who's my favorite player? Jamison Talon. I really feel bad for the guy. He was so good 2 years ago and the half the season last season before he got hurt. But Jamison Talon is going to be a very good pitcher when he comes back. And he did get a second Tommy John, which I really feel bad for the guy because he was so good. Especially for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they're looking for somebody that's going to stand out. They did have Josh Bell last season, but I'm not entirely sure about this season. But Jamison Talon did get Tommy John, so he's going to miss this season, which if you had to choose a season to miss, it's going to be this one because of the shortened season most likely. But Jamison Talon is so good. He's my favorite player when it comes to Pittsburgh Pirates. I love watching him pitching. The San Diego Padres. Who's my favorite player? Fernando Tatis Jr. He is so good. He makes the plays. He has very good speed. His batting average, he does hit the home runs and the RBIs. And he's so valuable for the team. You look at last season. When he was there, the Padres was good. When he got hurt, everyone took a toll and their numbers decreased. Fernando Tatis Jr., he's going to be a top tier player at least for the next 10 years or so. I really want to see him develop and be like an all-star level player and be that MVP type player when it comes to the National League. Fernando Tatis Jr., he does have a bright future ahead, and he's my favorite player when it comes to San Diego Padres. The San Francisco Giants. Who's my favorite player? Brandon Crawford. He's been on the team forever. He won all those world championships. He does make the plays. He's getting a little older in age, so he's going to probably maybe have a couple more years left. But Brandon Crawford, he makes the plays. But right now, Brandon Crawford, he makes the plays. He's still an average player, and he's my favorite player on the San Francisco Giants. The Seattle Mariners. Who's my favorite player? Marco Gonzalez. He's so undervalued. He's definitely the ace on the staff. And you look at Seattle Mariners, they don't have many players. And so he gets overlooked. He's a very good pitcher, but he's facing other elite top starters because he's number one on the pitching staff. So usually you do face number one or number two when you're number one on their pitching staff. So he does get a little overlooked. He's from Seattle Mariners. He's very undervalued. So my favorite player on the Seattle Mariners is Marco Gonzalez. St. Louis Cardinals. Who's my favorite player? Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty, last season, he came out of nowhere and he became the ace of the staff. He had that long stretch of the season, which he produced insane numbers. Jack Flaherty, I love watching him pitch. He's very good. He's very dominant on the mound. And my favorite player in St. Louis Cardinals, especially when it came to the second half of the season, is Jack Flaherty. The Tampa Bay Rays. Who's my favorite player? Austin Meadows. He came out of nowhere last season, and he had a monstrous season, especially getting traded from the Pittsburgh Pirates in that Chris Archer trade, and coming to the Tampa Bay Rays. He had a monstrous season. I kept getting the notifications, all those home runs. Austin Meadows, I don't know what happened to him, but he came like a monster. Had a high batting average, hit a bunch of home runs, RBIs, and it led the Tampa Bay Rays almost to the ALCS. Like I said previously, the Tampa Bay Rays are like the Oakland A's. They're so undervalued and they're so good. And Austin Meadows is phenomenal. And I love watching him play. Austin Meadows is my favorite player on Tampa Bay Rays. So who's my favorite player on the Texas Rangers? Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo, like I said in my previous videos, he's the three true outcomes. He gets home runs, strikeouts, and walks. He gets 40 home runs a year. Last season he did not because he was injured, but the previous years before that, he gets 40 home runs, gets a lot of strikeouts, and a lot of walks. He's the true three outcomes. He's the true three outcomes when it comes to baseball. Similar when it came to Adam Dunn previously. And then now he has a new ballpark. And I can't wait when it comes to new ballpark and it comes to Joey Gallo because the sky's the limit with him. And Joey Gallo is my favorite team of the Texas Rangers. The Toronto Blue Jays. Who's my favorite player? Vlad Jr. Vlad Jr. had a remarkable season. His expectations didn't meet with all that hype that he had, but Vlad Jr., I remember the home run derby. He had so many home runs when he was competing with Jock Peterson, and plus when it came to the finals against Pete Alonso, home run stretch, he had so many home runs in a row. Vlad Jr. has a bright future ahead of him, and I can't wait to see him when he faces the Yankees, because I do have a chance to see him 18 games a year, and Vlad Jr. is going to be a very good player, especially because of his father's a Hall of Fame player. He's going to have that pressure on him, but he's going to be a very good player, and he's my favorite player when it comes to the Toronto Blue Jays. So the Washington Nationals, who's my favorite player? Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer with those two color eyes, that tough mentality, the crazy side of him. When he's pitching on the mound, you're like, okay, who's this crazy guy on the mound? Because he's so wild and so determined. He's 100% serious, actually more than that. He's like 120% serious all the time on the mound. And he has that crazy side to him that he has that must-see TV when he's pitching. And you saw him in the playoffs and also the World Series. So Max Scherzer is my favorite player when it comes to Washington Nationals. He's so good. He's still a top 5 pitcher in the Major League Baseball right now. I love having a pitching, and didn't have the opportunity to draft him last season, which I was really happy about. He didn't have his usual season, but he was still very good. He's getting a little older in age, but he's still a top 5 pitcher. So let me know down in the comment section below, how is your list compared to mine? Who is your favorite player on each team? And compare your list to mine. Let's see if we do have some common players. So let me know down in the comment section below about your favorite players on each team. If you do enjoy this type of video, leave a like. You can always follow me on Twitter, TheBrettBurnz, and also Instagram, Brett.Burnz. I also got my t-shirts. That link will be in the description below. I also got the Patreon. It's $2 a month to get a shout out all my videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys. Thank you, bye.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do? This is just for us now. Yeah, I can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. So right. I'm just going with the gut. Never had a doubt, felt like this is just a must. Put me in perspective, I'm the deepest in the cut. Everybody tuning in, but this is just for us now.